Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a seriously mind-bending journey straight into the human gut to fundamentally shift the paradigm of how we view our own bodies. We're going to examine the microbiome, but not just as some simple digestive aid. No, we're looking at it through the bleeding-edge lens of quantum mechanics, advanced metabolic machinery, and deep human psychology. Get ready! First, consider the sheer, almost incomprehensible scale of our anatomy. 100 trillion. That is the estimated number of microbes inhabiting your body right at this very second. If we gathered up this entire population of bacteria, viruses, and fungi, they'd weigh up to 5 pounds. That's literally heavier than your own brain. So the next time you look in the mirror, remember, you aren't just looking at an individual human, you're looking at a highly complex, multi-species ecosystem. We call this entire ecosystem the microbiome. It's the vast community of symbiotic microorganisms and all their genetic blueprints that share our body space. It is absolutely crucial to our survival. In fact, it acts essentially as a secondary organ. In biological terms, you're what's known as a holobiont, a host and its many microbes functioning together as one single unit. Get this, these organisms possess roughly 150 times more genetic material than we do. It's a 2 million-year triumph of symbiotic co-evolution. Here is our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the microbial superorganism, dive into the metabolic engine, uncover the quantum biology of bacteria, track the gut-brain axis, and finally, explore psychobiotics and mental health. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the microbial superorganism. Your gut is effectively a massive chemical apothecary. It acts as a living record of our entire evolutionary history. This internal bioterrain is constantly, and I mean constantly, swapping genetic information with our human cells to rapidly respond to environmental changes. You can kind of think of it like Russian dolls of embedded DNA. It's bugs within humans, all rapidly mutating and swapping metabolic codes to organize themselves and, well, keep you alive. Moving right along, let's dive into Section 2, the metabolic engine. If we zoom in to the cellular level, the beneficial bacteria in your gut are hard at work fermenting complex dietary fibers. These are fibers that our own human enzymes simply cannot digest. And the result of this fermentation, the production of essential short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs. The main ones are acetate, propionate, and butyrate. These guys are the absolute metabolic powerhouses of your gut. They provide the major energy source for your colon cells, they regulate your appetite, they balance your glucose levels, and they even dictate how your body stores the fat from your last meal. Now, it really comes down to a tale of two states, healthy homeostasis versus dysbiosis. Healthy homeostasis is driven by high microbial diversity and a fiber-fueled diet. This gives you optimal SCFA production, a rock-solid intestinal barrier, and great insulin sensitivity. Dysbiosis, on the other hand, that's a dangerous imbalance. It's often an overgrowth of a bacterial phylum called firmicutes, usually driven by a high-fat or high-sugar diet. The outcome here is systemic inflammation and weakened gut barriers. That weakness allows harmful toxins, known as lipopolysaccharides, to leak directly into your bloodstream, which severely increases your risk for metabolic syndrome. Now, things are about to get really wild in Section 3, Quantum Biology of Bacteria. So here is the million-dollar question. How do these trillions of microbes communicate so instantaneously? We are talking about 100 trillion separate organisms coordinating highly complex metabolic and immune responses in perfect unison. Classical Newtonian physics, where molecules just bump into each other like billiard balls, is neither fast nor efficient enough to explain this incredible biological synchrony. To understand this, we actually have to look to quantum mechanics. Enter microtubules. These are cellular structural networks containing aromatic amino acids, like tryptophan. Research at the absolute bleeding edge of quantum biology suggests that the gut utilizes a structured, gel-like fourth phase of water alongside these microtubule lattices to support coherent energy transfer. In plain English, the microbiome is acting like a massive, instantaneous, biological quantum computer. It uses quantum oscillations to sense the environment and instantly coordinate exactly how your genes are expressed. And literally, it goes even deeper into the subatomic realm with bacterial nanowires and quantum tunneling. Scientists have observed that bacteria use actual biological conductors, these nanowires, to transfer electrons not just among their own species, but across entirely different species. And how do they do this? Using quantum tunneling. That means these electrons can jump energy barriers. It's like walking directly through a solid brick wall instead of climbing over it, all because they exist as probability waves. Your gut flora is literally bypassing traditional Newtonian physics to share energy. How crazy is that?
Okay, let's zoom back out a bit for Section 4, the gut-brain axis. Get ready for this single, staggering anatomical fact. 95% of your body's serotonin, which is the absolute key neurotransmitter for regulating mood, anxiety, and social behavior, is produced not in your head, but down in your gut. And its production is tightly regulated by your microbes.
This forms a direct physical pathway straight to the brain. Here is how it works. First, microbes ferment nutrients and synthesize those neurotransmitters. Second, this directly stimulates the enteric nervous system, which is a vast network of neurons embedded right in your digestive tract. Third, these electrical and chemical signals travel straight up the vagus nerve. Think of it as a biological superhighway connecting your abdomen to your brainstem. And finally, this data reaches the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal, or HPA axis. This directly alters your stress reactivity and your emotional resilience. Functionally, for sure, your gut is your second brain.
Which brings us to our final stop, Section 5, Psychobiotics and Mental Health.
Modern psychiatric science is exploring something incredibly exciting right now, a novel class of probiotics with psychotropic properties. They're called psychobiotics. Specific strains of bacteria, like Bifidobacterium infantis, have been shown in rigorous studies to significantly reduce anxiety and even modulate how sensitive the brain is to stress. We are quite literally talking about prescribing living microbes to alter neurochemistry and treat the mind, a real game changer.
This all leads us to what researchers are now calling the microbial collective unconscious. Conditions we used to think were purely chemical imbalances originating up in the brain, things like depression, chronic anxiety, and social isolation, are increasingly being linked to gut inflammation, dysbiosis, and a lack of microbial diversity. Healing the mind might not just require traditional psychiatric pharmaceuticals anymore. It requires weeding and feeding your inner bacterial garden to prevent inflammatory messengers called cytokines from crossing the blood-brain barrier. So, let's wrap up with this thought. If your thoughts, your complex metabolism, and your very cells are governed by 100 trillion quantum-communicating serotonin-producing microbes, what does it truly mean to be you? Take a moment to rethink your definition of self and just marvel at the multi-species quantum computing superorganism you call a body. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I hope it blew your mind as much as it blew mine.